Yes, people, what's the good word out there? Live Hip Hop Daily. Once again, we got turned around a little bit on Memorial Day. All good. I want to shout out all the vets out there, of course, you know what I mean? Today, we got a super special guest. As always, on the one-on-one segment. But even before we get into that, I have to give a big rest in power to Maya Angelou, who passed today at 86 years.
Oh, my God. I didn't know that.
That's been all over the news today as well. So
wow.
Rest in power to a true queen. Go out, read those poems. If you're not familiar with this queen, then definitely go back and do the knowledge and learn and read and see what she did for the past, several decades as far as black literature and black movement in general. Maya Angelou, 86 years old. So here we are, one-on-one with the coach. As always, we bring different people from around the culture, to come hang out with us, kicking. And today's special guest is Jesse West, Third Eye. What's good?
I'm good, man. I'm blessed.
Yeah, that's your camera right there. You know what I'm saying? The people can see you live. Let's jump right to it, man. For some people that may be unfamiliar, man, give them a little bit of the history of Jesse West, starting for when you kind of got into the game and started producing with people.
It's funny. Like I never wanted to be a producer. I mean, to produce was not part of my aspirations. I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to rhyme. I just wanted to be on stage, out front, be famous. And but my first actual professional success was producing. You know what I mean by the first time I ever got paid, made money.
Right.
And that was in 1988. I did 3 songs on Shelly Thunder. She was on 4th of Broadway. She had an album that was primarily produced by KRS-One.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
He did the bulk of the album, and somehow, I was able to sneak 2 cuts in there. It was the first time I got paid for it.
Okay.
And that was in '88. But then immediately after that, I ended up producing a song for the Jizza. I did the Jizza's first single.
Come Do Me?
Come Do Me.
Yeah.
And that was in '88. This was all like in a 3-month span. But yet and still, getting paid and making that money and being called a producer, it still didn't inspire me. That I didn't want to be a producer. I wanted to be an artist.
Right.
Because the only reason why I became a producer, in terms of, I'm not going to say became a producer. I became a music writer, making beats. I wouldn't say I became a producer until maybe 10, 11, 12 years in the game.
Okay.
So all you beat makers out there, this is what I'm trying to get you to understand. You may be making beats for a year and then you have some success, and on the credits it's going to say produced by you, but it takes a lot more experience than that, because production is more than just sampling and adding drums and playing a few keys.
Absolutely.
Some of the world's greatest producers and the greatest produced records, those producers may not have even played the instrument on the record.
Right.
That's the unique thing about hip-hop producers. The producers are generally the writers, and that confuses what production actually is.
And I was going to say, let's take a moment to draw that line, to make that distinction. This topic comes up a lot, a beat maker versus a true producer. So just to be clear for everybody out there, in your opinion, how would you define a beat maker, and then let's contrast that with a producer?
There's a lot of different variables, but basically for me, the difference is a beat maker is at home, whatever his platform that he's using to make his beats, and he's just dealing within his own circle, his own inspiration, and at the end of the day, that's sufficient. Whatever his vibe is, whatever he's feeling, at the end of the day, it's sufficient. A producer, you have to use more elements than the ones that are naturally at your disposal, meaning you have to use what the artist is bringing to the table.
Right.
You have to use because you may be a beat maker, but if you can't recognize that maybe this particular song needs a live guitarist on it.
Right.
Or maybe this particular song needs a live percussionist.
Right.
It's easy to, the first step to understand that. That's one step of production, to understand that a live guitar would go well here. We need a live guitar player.
Knowing that, understanding that when you hear
understanding that and having that vision. But then at the same time, you have to be experienced and skilled enough that when that guitarist gets to the studio,
right,
you're able to extract from him what you really need from the track. Because a beat maker, the artist could say, hey, this would be hot if we get a live guitar. And, and that beat maker,
right.
You know any guitarists? And then when the guitarists get there, he's like, play.
Right.
Oh, that was dope. Play that again.
Right, that type of thing.
A producer already knows this is what I want you to play. This is the texture that I want, because at the same time, as I said, during the contest, a beat maker may hear the guitarist play a lick and it just sounds good to him. But now where production comes in, okay, I want you to play that lick this way.
Right.
I want you to play the lick a little laid back in the track, or maybe a little ahead of the track.
Right.
Then also production in terms of like vocals. Like I used to tell people, like especially with singers, a singer would come to me and let me hear her demo.
Right.
And just listening to the demo, I know that you're working with someone that we would consider a beat maker, because an experienced producer also would know that this chorus calls for more than just unison.
Right.
If you're not experienced, you don't know. Double it. That's all you know.
Right.
Double it. An experienced producer is going to go, okay, you need to put a harmony here. You need to. People that are not producers that arrange songs do that also too.
Exactly.
Maybe just the person that wrote it could guide you in that. But at the same time, it's also part of the producer's job to have that person there that's qualified to do that. I may not. My strongest point may not be finding harmonies if I'm working with a singer.
Right.
But as a producer of the track, it's my duty to have someone there that is.
Got it.
You know what I mean? Okay, I know this girl, she's ill with the harmonies.
Right.
I need her here.
Period.
Because of what I know she's capable of doing. So that's what I mean by, as a producer, you have to use so many other elements. Then production is also mixing. Beat makers, that's when it's over. You take, if a person is sitting home using Fruity Loops to make a track,
right,
and then he goes into a studio because his level has stepped up, so now he's working with someone that's on a level where now he's going into a real professional studio with Pro Tools HD that he's never used.
Right.
Game over for him. You know what I'm saying? He doesn't understand yet, because he's not experienced to understand that production is also, how do you want this kick to sound? You already got the sound because you knew what to sample. I liked it, this kick, or if you have some factory kicks,
right, that
came with whatever software you're using. I like this kick. But then a producer might take it because it's creative. You know what I'm saying? Mixing there's a creative point.
Absolutely.
To mix it.
Absolutely.
It's more than just levels and EQs and processing.
It's more than that. It's really creating a soundscape. When we talk about mixing and going into mixing the record, we're creating a soundscape. The same way a person who makes a movie creates visuals and edits and gives you different angles from a camera and has the actor do different inflections to give off emotion. We do the same thing on the board.
Mm-hmm.
We build drama in the record, and we have certain elements of the record bouncing this way or pan this way or in relation to something else, because together it creates this whole experience for your ear. Mm-hmm. So it's absolutely right. I think, and then this is the further point we're going to get to, because it's great to have this conversation and know these things. And then, we also realize we have a new generation always of people coming into the culture that want to produce, that call themselves whatever they call themselves, and they need this. They need this. To understand that there's a difference between a person that loops up a beat, adds drums, and plays two keys versus a person who goes into the studio, anticipates what's needed, coaches vocals, sits in on the mixing session to make sure that this record comes out the way it was envisioned. Right. Huge difference there. Pay attention to that. There's a huge difference there.
I've worked on songs where I use live musicians where I knew, okay, this would be dope if
Right.
I was a bass player. And I hire one bass player and come and there's a certain feel that I'm looking for. That,
Right.
I mean, I tell him directly, you know what I'm saying? I pay him and let him go about his way. He doesn't know that, you know, next week I got a whole nother bass player to come in.
Right.
You know, those are just decisions. I mean, what's interesting about today is technology. All across the board, man, it seems like technology, you know, has its pros and cons.
Right.
For me, technology is taking the feeling out of the things that we do. You know, it's making everything, even in terms of, you know, the average teenager right now, their handwriting is horrible. Because, you know, I noticed that for my daughter. My daughter's a straight A student.
Right.
But her handwriting is suspect.
Right.
Because she's texting
All day. I talked to my daughter about that as
Emails
well.
all
Yeah.
day, you know what I mean? And she's straight A, you know. I'm proud she's straight A, but when I can't read her notes. I'm
Crazy.
like, how your teacher read this? You know? They're
not practicing writing.
And how that affects music is it's not, the production process is not as personable as it used to be. Like I have a few gold and platinum records, right? And I mean, I've produced a whole lot of songs, a lot of different artists, and a few of them were very successful.
Understood.
The ones that were very successful, when I think about them, there was always a role that I know I played in the creation of that song beyond sitting home banging on the SB 1200 and the 950. That's, you know, what made me a producer. You know, any song that you know, my most successful songs, I can show you that this is what, when I got with the artist, when we got in the studio and we were doing this, we were creating together. You know, I was like, oh, wait a minute, you know, you can put this, oh, wait a minute, I got a part at home. When we come back to the studio, I'm gonna let you, you know,
Right.
we just, you know, collaborating with each other, you know, corroborating and putting this together. Nowadays, I have a song on Pharoah Monch has his post-traumatic syndrome.
Yeah.
So I did one song with him on that album.
Okay.
And I predicted this a year ago. You know, I remember I was telling my man, I was like, you know, and this is happening across the board to a lot of people. I was telling them, you know, the album's gonna come out, and people, you know, all on my Facebook page, people, you know, the new Pharoah Monch, congratulations, you know, the new Pharoah Monch
Right.
album. And I was telling my man, I was like, people are gonna come up to me, yo, that's hot, that new Pharoah Monch album, you produced a new song for Pharoah Monch. I haven't spoken to him or seen him in 5 years.
Interesting.
But yet, on his new album right now, there's a song on there say produced by Jesse West. I have not seen this man in over 5 years. I haven't had a conversation like you and I conversating in over 5 years. We text, we
Right.
talked in the text. Like I said, we talked in the email.
Right.
So there's nothing personal. You know, I'll take the credit, I'll take the money, whatever. But I didn't produce nothing for that man. I emailed him a track and he went and did what he did. That's what everybody's doing.
That's what everybody's
And that's
doing.
why the quality of our music is suffering in that aspect, because there's no marriage between the person who was inspired and made the music and the person who was inspired and made the lyrics. There's no marriage between them anymore.
Right.
You know, it was unheard of. I mean, back in, you know, the early 90s, you know, in our prime, I remember being in the studio waiting on, you know, someone like a KRS-One and pissed off because he didn't show up.
Right.
You know, I'm like, yo, you know, these dudes got money to throw away like this. They're going to block out a studio for $1,700 and don't even show up. And I ain't got time for this. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whereas today, it's like, you know, now the producer's like, yo, you know, how about I just email you the track and two-track it, you know, just two-track
That's
it.
the killer. That's hurting me a lot with the 2-track. That's hurting me a lot. Like you said, how it affects how our music sounds. The fact that yes sir, the fact that you have songs that people are listening to now where the vocals don't really sit in the music and the vocals kind of float on top of the beat and it doesn't really sound like a song. Right. That's one for me that bothers me. And like I said, yo, people hear us all the time and they say, well, you know, that was this and it's not like that no more and you got to get used to it. Yo, the reason we talk about these things for everybody listening is because the way that we produce music, not just us in hip hop, but the generations before us, is the superior way to produce music. People did not produce music separately until now.
Exactly.
And the greatest music has basically been made.
Yeah.
So it's odd to me to look at some of those original models and methods of producing and of song making and try to down it. I don't see it. Like I said, some of the greatest records in our genre, the genres before us, were made in a certain fashion. People collaborating, getting into that studio together.
It gave a spirit and a soul to what was being created because it was a combination of minds and stuff coming together in agreement, and not even in agreement in what they were hearing, but what they were feeling from it. You know, it's like the producer, the artist, his people, the producer, their people. It's like we're all in one room together listening to the song and we're all feeling it.
Right.
We're happy. That's a rap. It's a mix. You know, we all coincide in terms of the way we feel about this.
Right.
You know, if anybody has something, you know when I think, you know, this little tweaks.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you could bring the snare up a little louder. You know, that's all good. But it's like I don't want to sound like I'm trying to put Falmonch down.
Right.
When I finally heard the finished product, it is what it is. There's nothing whack about it.
Right.
But I didn't feel nothing. I didn't feel like, you know, it's a dope song. The music is hot. His vocals, he got Denon Porter on it. Denon's vocals is hot. You know, singing the hook and all that. But being that I'm so in tune on such a deeper level, the consumer's not going to hear what I heard. But me being in tune on a deeper level, when I heard it, when he finally emailed it to me, he was excited. When I heard it, I was like, all right. You know. And to be honest, I'm listening to it going, see, this is what I'm saying, B. It's like he probably doesn't even realize how much of my production benefit that he lost from that. How much hotter this track would have been
if y'all was in the laboratory together.
If we could have labbed together. You know what I'm saying? It's like I almost felt disrespected. Like this man did not respect what I could have brought to the table. You hear a track that came from me that inspired you, that you wanted it on your next product, but you did not understand what I could have added as a producer once I heard what you was doing. Because as like I said, I'm listening to it going,
I would have did this. Interesting. And I'm going to shout out
to the next level, you know? And I'm not blaming them for nothing.
Right,
it's just the times.
And this is the times. This is the way it's being done.
I don't email nobody no more instrumentals. It don't make sense. For what?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Unless it's someone that I know I just rock with like that I know eventually we're going to get together.
Anyway.
Certain artists, you know.
Okay.
I do that. But as far as just...
No emailing the tracks. And you're not alone with that because there's a lot of producers that we talk to that know the difference.
I did it for a very long time and I never got any success.
Period.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Hold that thought. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say my success came from people that wanted to sit down
and make them
and politic, you know, like men. Wes, I know you got what I need. Come and see me. And sit there and they hear something. I want that. Where can we go and record this, man? When can you come to the studio and record? Not nobody. Yeah. We looking for beats. Yo, let me hit you with my email. Email us some tracks. Come on, man.
Yeah. Understood. And it's crazy. That's the way it's going. All right, my producer's telling me we're going to jump to a break. Every time we take a break on the one-on-one show, we usually go to a video. So what video do we have queued up? Okay. So we're going to get into this KRS joint, step into my world that you also produced. Intro that, man. Say something for it, and then we'll go into the video.
This is out of every song that I've ever been involved with creatively or production-wise. This is not even my most successful song, but it is if anybody were to ask me to give them one song that I created or was involved with that embodies how I feel about hip-hop music, its essence, the culture of it, this I would direct them to this song.
Understood.
It says everything for me. You know what I mean?
Dope.
Yeah.
Step into a world, KRS-One.
You don't stop. KRS